All right, here we go. You ready?
Go.
Hey everyone, Jeff and CJ here, and today we are going to build a Mandalorian helmet. But before we get into it,
roll the intro.
so about a month ago, CJ came up with this idea to make a Mandalorian helmet, and he got the template, he cut out all the pieces, put it out on foam, and then just kind of sat and waited until I was ready to help him. And what was it, last week?
It was like last week we made that.
Last week we made this guy. But then what we found out was the template was for an adult. So,
It's huge.
doesn't really fit his head. Barely fits my head, but we're all good. So this time, we reprinted the template, and we reprinted it at 85% of the size. And actually, I'm gonna link this template down below for those of you guys that wanna make your own. Does that sound like fun?
That'd be fun.
And we've gone ahead and traced out our templates onto this foam. So yeah, this is just 12-inch by 12-inch carpet tile foam. And that's what we're gonna be making it out of, so.
EVA foam.
Yeah, so make sure when you trace this out that you do it as accurately as possible with all your guiding lines. And the side that you draw on is actually the top of the helmet. That will be the top of the helmet, so you wanna make sure that this ribbed side is down. That's gonna be the inside of the helmet, so. I don't know, what do you say? We gotta
Let's get into it.
get into it, start cutting these up. So make sure when you're tracing out your templates that you're as accurate and as careful as possible, including even where the hash lines are, because that's gonna be your guides to line up. And then when you cut them out, make sure you cut with a really sharp knife on the inside of the line. And make sure your cuts are as perpendicular as possible. So you wanna hold your knife straight up. There are a couple of them that require a bevel or an angled cut, so you can see the dotted line on this piece. I'm gonna have to make an angled cut on that, so I'll talk to you about that when we get there. So we're coming up to our first beveled piece here, and so this one is, you just follow your template. This one's an outer bevel. So I need to angle my blade. They say 40 degrees. We'll see with where we get, and we try to get the smoothest line that we can while staying on the inside of our line. Let's see if we can do this here.
Hold your breath if you need to.
Hold my breath if I need to.
That looks easy.
I think we're pretty good on that one. So this is the left side. This is gonna be the lower jaw piece. So this is gonna be kind of underneath here. Whereas this top part is gonna fold over on top of it. So that's why this needed to be an outer angle. All right, so now we're on the inner bevel. So this one we need to get rather than our blade flat, or rather than our blade angled on the outside, we angle it on the inside. And again, try to match the inside of that line. All right, that's looking good. So, show them how that's gonna fit together.
Like, they're not sticking together, but
By the time we glue it up.
it's gonna kind of look ugly on the back side, but as you can see here, it looks pretty awesome.
All right, let's keep going. All right, here we go. Before we start to put this thing together, they always recommend to heat it up and to curve these pieces a little bit. You just gotta think it's gonna be on a curved helmet, so anything that we can do to give it a little bit of a head start is good. Now we don't have a heat gun. A heat gun would be easy. You could just like kind of 2 seconds on each side just to make it soft, and then you form it and it'll harden in that state. But in the absence of a heat gun, we're going with a hairdryer. So So we'll form these up, we'll heat them up, and then we'll start putting it together. Sound good?
Here you go.
All right, let's go. So for that Mando helmet, we ended up using Gorilla Super Glue,
Super glue.
which I think we found we kind of ran out of hands.
Yeah, we had to use my sister.
We had to call in Tessa. Did Bryce ever help?
Bryce did, but then he got glue on him and he's like, ah!
Yeah, he was out once he got glue on his little dainty fingers, so he washed them off for about 30 minutes straight. But this time we've got contact cement. I've never worked with contact cement, but
Gotta wait.
apparently you put a little bit on each seam. So we'll take these two seams, we'll do letter C and letter C and we'll put them together. You put contact cement there, contact cement there. Let it sit for a little bit. It needs to dry till it's tacky. And then apparently once you put them together,
They won't come off.
they won't come off, and it's a lot quicker of an application than the Gorilla Glue, which we had to hold in place for a long time, and sometimes it shifts. So we're gonna go ahead and do maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 pieces of these so that it can set and harden up, and then we'll start putting them together.
First one.
Let's give it a go. So we want to line up our edges. Push them together. See how easy that was?
That was like, now it's like
Whoa.
already like done.
So you can check out that seam is super tight. That is a super tight seam. There's no cracks in there.
Sorry if they're a bit wonky.
This is the way, huh?
This
This is the way. Legit. Mando joke.
is the way.
Okay, let's try these guys. This is gonna be a trickier one. So for these ones, for the cheekbone, so we're doing the right side of the cheek, right up in here. You really want the surface seams. You want those to connect first, and then you can always rock back, kind of the heel side, if you will. But the surface seams, which is where you'll see it, it's the show side. You want to make sure that that's as clean and crisp as possible and as smooth as possible. And we didn't on that one. We kind of just threw it together. So I'm gonna try really hard to get these seams together, the front leading edge together to start. And we'll see where we get.
So the back side. Show them the back side.
So the back side gets pretty ugly pretty quickly, but that's okay. That's not, if we need to, we can always shave that down if it's actually hitting the cheek, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. And this little extra part, we'll just snip that off, but we'll let it sit there for now. If you look at this cheek, there's a little bit of a gap there. Here, let's get a look at this one here. So there's a little bit of a gap there in which you see the end of this panel, right? The end of this panel, which means the cheek crease didn't come straight up to it, which then made the front of this kind of point out more. So then it's really hard on the visor to bring it all in. So
This may be easier.
just kind of figuring out why that happened, and I think it had to do with the fact that now this piece of the cheekbone is now sitting up nice and flush with the side here. However, it still is, you can see here, it still is pointing out. It needs to be in a bit more. So what I think I'm gonna do is, after this, we're gonna heat it up, we're gonna bend it, and let it sit for a little bit, and we should be okay. All right, now that our shell is all in place, what's the next step, Siege?
Putting on the ears, the back vent thing, and the mohawk.
Yeah, so we'll get these kind of ears all designed up and put on. There's a little vent. It's a vent, right? On the
That's
back.
like, yeah.
Yeah, turn around.
Like,
So it's kind
I can't reach.
of a vent that looks like that. We'll put it on the back, and then yeah, just the mohawk, kind of the 2 strips. We just kind of make this part up, and away we go.
Oh, dear.
Is that good?
Yeah. It's more spiky, but yeah, it works.
I like it.
Spiky.
So we hollowed out a rectangle and put in our little vent pieces. And then we'll take the other piece of the rectangle and put it back over top. There you go. Kind of gives us a nice 3D look here. So we got this nice little vent portion going on in the back. 3D.
Doesn't matter.
Coming right off the mohawk. Looking good.
Sweet.
All right, so the next thing we need to do, just with some of the creases that opened up, there's some small holes that opened up in the cracks, which is kind of unavoidable. Some seams are really good, so what we're gonna do is use
DAP.
DAP. So this is just regular DAP. It's paintable DAP. So we're just gonna DAP a couple of the cracks using some popsicle sticks
Smooth it out.
to smooth it out. Here we go.
Go.
There you go. Boom.
Boom.
Looking good. So we've got all the pieces on that we need, from the vent to the mohawk to the ears to the headband. All of our pieces are on, so what's the next step?
Spray paint it.
Spray paint it. So the stuff that we're going to use to spray paint on this, first we need to prime it or get it ready for spray paint. So we heard of this stuff called Plasti Dip.
It's really good.
It's really good. So what it does is it's going to coat the foam, right? Since you're working with foam, I don't really want to spray paint right on it. So it coats the foam, but when it hardens, it's still bendy.
It's bendy.
It doesn't harden up. But then they say in order to get the best like metallic look, you need to spray your metal over top of shiny black. And this is matte black, so then they also sell a Plasti Dip glossifier. So spray on the black, spray on the gloss, and then you're ready for your metal coat. So for the silver stuff, for the silver look, we bought this mirror effect Rust-Oleum. So we'll spray that over top of everything, and then we'll let that dry. And then that makes it look
Shiny.
too shiny. So we'll let you know how we fix that a little later on in this video.
It's all done.
It's all done. So we got our coat of black,
Black stuff.
a coat of gloss,
and shiny stuff.
a coat of shiny. So it's a little too shiny, but we'll deal with that in a second. We have 2 more steps to do. The first one being getting in
The seam part.
the seeing part,
The
visor. So what we did was just took a piece of clear plastic, just a plastic face shield, #COVID, and then we took some of this window tint. So this is a roll of window tint that you can buy online for car windows. So if you want to shade the back seat for your kids, that's the stuff you get. And then I just cut it out in the shape of a T, which is going to go on the inside here. So we're going to go ahead and apply this. Kind of hard for you guys to see it on camera, but we're going to get in there with a hot glue gun and make it happen. All right. The last step is upon us. So we just got our visor in with a lot of
Hot glue. It like
hot glue,
a
a
lot.
hot glue gun, and just a couple dabs of our Gorilla Glue. But the last step is upon us. In order to make this shiny thing look like this, which is kind of like
dirty, like more
dirty,
worn.
battle worn. The last thing for us to do is to take some shoe polish and cover this helmet with some shoe polish, some black shoe polish, and then we'll wipe off as much or as little as we want. This one we did 2 coats. This one will for sure do 2 coats. Maybe we'll do 3 coats depending on how CJ likes it. But yeah, that's how you get the weather look. Some black shoe polish, and then one last spray of that clear gloss just to seal in the shoe polish, and then we'll be all done. So that finishes the project. CJ now has his own Mando helmet and 2 coats of shoe polish, and then 1 coat of gloss on the top of it, and it's looking good. I think there's just one more thing to do. This is the way. Yeah, boy.